Welcome to The Grass is Greener. I'm your host, Paul Greene. My guest today is Travis Van Winkle. And there's so much I could say about Travis, being an actor, an activist, an incredibly unique human being, authentic, loving, generous. His life is about big things. He's not just about himself and about acting. And in this conversation, we get into a whole bunch of things we get into some squirrely bits. We get into the woods and some things he's never shared before, and some very intimate areas in his life that have been pivotal. And it's a cautionary tale in that part, and it's not suitable for everybody. So if you have kids listening, you might want to tether their age here. Travis is best known for The Last Ship and Friday the 13th and many Hallmark movies, and Malcolm in the Middle, Two Broke Girls, Law and Order, 90210. I could seriously go on. His IMDb page is phenomenal. You just can go there and check his work out. He's been in several projects, and many of them The OC, That's So Raven. There's many things here that you probably love him from. A lot of my audience will recognize him from Hallmark movies, and just his incredible journey from moving to Los Angeles and the struggle of starting out. So I'm excited about this conversation. Travis is a dear friend of mine, and he has a really powerful nonprofit he's working with called Build On, so I really hope you check that out. And I'm hoping that my son and I and him will be able to go do this building schools around the world. And I really look forward to you sharing with me in the comments what you thought of this episode. And if you can subscribe, leave some comments, and share this, that would be amazing. And we will catch you on the other side. Enjoy. Wait, where the heck are you? Are you still in
I'm
Canada?
in my kitchen in LA.
You came back. You survived the cold plunge?
I did. And I will do it again and again and again. My only regret was that I didn't just take my time and relax in the water and make it look more graceful, because it was so cold.
How cold was it?
I have no idea, but it was definitely the coldest water that I've been in.
Did it hurt? Like, you put your head under. Usually when water's that cold, I'll go up to like here, and then you can go longer. But as soon as your head goes under, your body's like, I'm dying.
Yeah, it was next level cold, but it's one of those things that's so energizing and revitalizing, and I felt high afterwards for like a good 2 hours. I was feeling real good, so I would do it again every day. I think if you do that every day, there's probably some health benefits to it.
Yeah, we do that in Arrowhead. You got to come up once it gets really cold up there, because we go in and it's probably, see, that's glacier water where Lake Arrowhead's like snow runoff, but that's very different. Like that was Banff, Lake Louise.
Okay. Yeah, Lake Louise, glacier water. That water's so blue, so pretty. And hello, hey brother, long time no see.
Hello, Mr. Van Winkle. Are you playing with Karen down there?
No, I'm playing with my foot, actually. I feel like I haven't cut my toenails in like 3 months, and they're like this long, and so they're just fascinating to me at this point.
I'm glad that we can't see that.
Yeah, that's probably better that you don't see that.
Is that a water purifier behind you there, that metal thing?
It's basically just a little water filter. Because I don't own this place. I didn't want to like install a nice fancy one here. But if you own a place, it's better just to install one.
Like a whole house, so that when you're showering, you're not getting all the chemical bath of the city.
Do you guys have that at your place?
We have different like filters on different shower heads, not a whole, because we're renting here at the beach too. But we do get water delivered from this spring called Live Water.
Oh, cool. I thought you guys bought your place. I thought you guys
in Arrowhead. Yeah. In Arrowhead, we have a built-in filter to the kitchen, but not the showers in Arrowhead. The water's pretty good there, but you'd be surprised, even because it's a city, they put like 75 chemicals even in Arrowhead.
Yeah,
Like,
you kind of have to, right? I was thinking I couldn't drink the water in Lake Louise, even though that water is pure and it's. I feel like you still can't just take a sip without getting some kind of bacteria,
or
right?
like beaver fever or something. But I think that water you would survive, but like rivers, if there's like a dead animal upstream or something, I don't know. Your character from you would know more about this, how to survive. And we watched that. Kate and I watched like the chunks that you were in, and just like, oh my gosh, that must have been so fun.
It was pretty freaking wild.
That must have, I was scared when you fell down the ravine and I saw your body like this. I was like, because I've watched season 1 of you. I skipped season 2, and then I kind of just picked up the parts in season 3 to catch where you were. And so I could tell you that I've seen you and
It's
you.
well, I'm glad that you saw me in you.
You did so good, dude. You were so like present and like it was just so you in you. And also I was so proud of how freaking stacked you were. Jeez Louise.
By the way, already lost so much of it. It's hard to keep that up because you have to eat 6 meals a day. You have to work out religiously. It's really hard. And if you just want to have your normal life, it's hard. I was working in Winnipeg and doing 14-hour days. And so then by the time you get done with that, you don't want to work out. And then I went to Banff. I'm not working out in Banff. I'm in freaking Banff.
Right,
And so I'm just watching myself.
just like shrink wrap down. You gotta do you follow the Deliver King on Instagram, that dude?
No.
Oh my gosh. Okay. It's terrifying because kind of looks like steroids, but he eats like he's kind of like your character actually and you. But the extreme version, like he's eating testicles of animals, like bulls, but he has a supplement of liver that's like denatured liver, and it's grass-fed liver, and I get it delivered to me, and I've been taking almost for 3 or 4 weeks, and I've really noticed, it's called ancient formulas or something, but it's liver, it's organ meat. But when we're done this, check out Liver King. It's kind of terrifying, but it's kind of insane to watch because he kind of reminds me of you. But he's you at 290 pounds or something. Like,
I got up to 190 was like my filming weight. And
jeez.
that's I usually sit like around 176, 178. So definitely was a little. I packed on some pounds. First of all, thank you. I'm so glad that you took the time to watch.
Yeah.
That you have such nice things to say. I had so much fun playing that character because
I
there's so many aspects of me in that guy. Like I'm the center, and I got to really, I think, be incredibly heightened versions of myself, and
Yeah.
that's fun to play. Because
Oh,
I'm naturally, if I'm passionate about something, I've got a ton of enthusiasm, and I love that about myself. But with this guy, it's to the next level, to the
yeah.
point where it's almost toxic to be around. um, but it
Well,
was so fun to
it was
play.
an interesting power shift because you usually see that main character being the guy who's, even though he's smaller, being like outsmarting everyone and being like scared of him. And in those scenes, I was like, I was scared of him, but I was scared for him because of you. And then with that hug you did with him, you could feel all the past like things he had been through in that moment. He finally ended being accepted by a man. Like there's a lot to that moment that was in your eyes too, when the close up was on you and then also on him. It was awesome, dude. It's really cool. People don't know this, but Travis and I met first in Sandy Marshall's class, right? That was the first time, right?
Yeah.
And I used to love doing repetition. There's this exercise we do where you get to work with somebody on stage as a warm up, where you see something in them and you say it, and then they have to kind of repeat it, and you keep repeating it until it shifts. And Travis, your scenes in that class and the times I'd get to do live with you, it was like I knew you were headed for really great things because you're so spontaneous. And that class, Johan was in that class with us, and that's the first time that you and I met, and I loved working with you back then.
I appreciate that. I totally agree. I remember you and Johan were these guys that seemed like you were like angels sent down from another planet. Like you'd go up on stage and you had this glow to you, and you had your like satchels that you guys would wear, and you would use words like vast in in your exercise. um, uh, but I always appreciated watching you guys because I thought the same thing. I thought that
Yeah.
you guys were always free and had so much fun, and you were fearless. That class was a lot about being fearless. You go up there and you just honor what the hell is actually going on.
Yeah.
And there were so many ticks that get revealed to you. And one of mine was whenever anger came up, I didn't know how to deal with anger. And what I would do is I'd scratch my hair and I'd scratch my head over and over. And Sandy's like, why are you scratching your head? Just be fucking mad at the guy.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I had to actually ask myself that question. It's like, well, why? Why am I scratching my head right now because I'm angry? It's because the emotions were so uncomfortable. I literally, the only way I could quell myself was to like scratch my head. So it's just like these weird tics that we have that you
Sure.
don't know you have, and you only find out that you have them when you're put in a situation that's high pressure and it's in front of people.
Yeah.
And so I love that class
Yeah.
for not only because there was so much talent in that class.
So much talent.
I mean, I remember the first couple of times I went and watched that class. By the way, it's a cold reading class. You get the scene the moment you arrive to class, and you have to put it up. I remember the first few classes, I thought, why aren't these being filmed?
Right.
Like these are scenes that I want to. I see these scenes, and these are better than what I watch in the movies. And it
That-
was something that really inspired me to stick out. And I think I did 3 or 4 years straight of that class, and I was going twice a week because I loved it so much.
Twice a week. Wow. I mean, people don't know this about acting, but it's like going to the gym. I know there's the occasional actor you hear that they're like, never do class or whatever, but I don't buy that. It's like, you want to act as much as you can possibly act, whether that's writing your own stuff or playing in your friend's play or like doing that Shakespeare thing you did. I want to talk about that, by the way, about you going to London and then that thing you did in New York too. And but yeah, like for me, I have to start going to the gym. It's a muscle you train, and you get to, how well can you listen to the other actor and then work with that. And like, have you always like been into acting classes? Yeah.
For me, I feel like, and this is, I don't care if I sound cheesy here, but it's a soul class. I feel like it's like you said, you go and train your muscles in the gym. I feel like you go and train your heart and your soul in these classes, and you're expressing all sorts of different emotions that are on this page. That's this particular person's journey, but you then get to explore that inside yourself. And so it's almost just like you're this accordion, and you're just like really playing all the music inside of yourself.
Yeah.
And you get to do that every night on stage, and you don't know what it's going to be when you get to class because the scene is assigned to you. In this particular class, we're talking about Sandy Marshall. So the scene's assigned to you in some crazy way. There's always synchronicity. There was always something that Sandy would give me that I related to in my life at that particular time that I wanted to flesh out. And there was always this connective tissue that was fascinating to me. And I would always be nervous as hell driving to class. It's like,
Right.
do I have to pee? Do I have to poop? I probably don't even have to go. Like, it's just your body knows it's about to go into some kind of war, and you're about to be basically seen on a lens, on a microscope in front of all these people. And so it's just, and also, you're about to have a ton of fun, and you have to be in the moment in that class. And so there was this like budding excitement that was happening. And it's like, you don't know if it's nerves, if it's excitement, if it's fear.
Yeah.
It's all of it. And then you get up on stage, just like let it out. And then when I would leave class, I would feel so refreshed. Like my soul would feel refreshed.
Yeah, like a cold plunge.
100%. And so class for me has always been, there's a multitude of reasons I really have enjoyed class. I mean, training ground, yes. You need to experience and take action and actually act. You can't just read about it. You have to do it. And so for me, when I wasn't on set, I wanted to be in class. I wanted to be stretching myself. Number two, you get to meet people, and you get to actually watch and learn from other people's talent, and you get to see what they bring to the table, and it helps you build yourself and your own craft. And then I think the third thing is, acting has always been something that has brought this energy to me where I love it and I hate it at the same time, but it wakes me up. And so there's always this thing of like, I got to get back in that cage. It's almost like fighters. It's like,
Yeah.
I'm sure they're like, it's okay. Here's an analogy. I would do
Yeah.
triathlons. And triathlons are fucking hard.
Yeah.
By the time so when the race starts, you jump in the water and you're swimming against 200 people. They're all punching you in the head. You're swimming like a half mile or a mile. You're drowning in the water, but you have to get out, get on your bike. You ride your bike for 18, 26 miles, whatever miles. You're then sprinting. You get off your bike and you run 4 miles, literally to the sprint. By the time you're done, you've redlined for an hour and a half, and it's miserable for most of that race. And as soon as it ends, you're like, there's no way I'll ever do that again, ever in my life. That was amazing. I'm done. I did really well. Never doing that again. 20 minutes goes by, and you're like, okay, sign me up for the next one. Really? So there's something in me that likes this deep dive into this pit of the unknown that brings up all these emotions. And as much as I sometimes hate it, I love it. And so it's like interesting push-pull that I've had with acting for all these years.
Yeah. How was your childhood? Like, do you have a lot of stuff that you have to work through and that acting helps? Like your mom and dad, like how was your life growing up? You have a couple siblings and you're from California, right?
I was born in California, lived in Michigan for a little while. And then I would say mainly I grew up in Georgia. My parents were in the Air Force. So
both of them.
Yep. They met in the Air Force in Virginia. Then they got transferred to California. My sister and I were born. So my brother was born in Virginia. They got transferred to California, to Victorville. My sister and I were born there. Transferred to Michigan. My mom got out of the military. My dad stayed in. And so we lived in Michigan for about 6 or 7 years. And then he got out of the military completely. And he moved to Georgia to work for Delta. So I've kind of bounced around.
You worked for Delta. You moved to Georgia to work for Delta?
My dad did, yeah. So
your dad did.
Atlanta's a Delta hub.
Right.
Yeah. So all of my friends that I grew up with, all of their parents worked for Delta. And so we all had these little blue cards and we could just show up to the airport and fly for free anywhere.
Would you get upgraded sometimes too?
Yes, a lot.
Yes. That's amazing.
Especially when you'd fly internationally. And so I did not grow up a wealthy kid. I did not grow up in a big home with, really nice things and expensive clothes and a really amazing car at the age of 16. I didn't have a lot of the riches that some of my friends had in the town that I grew up in, but I flew for free. And that's the thing that I had.
That's amazing. So you could travel like a ton.
Yep.
Did you travel a ton before you came to LA?
Yeah, I got to bounce around quite a bit.
Wow.
I got really lucky with that. And so I think that I've always been somewhat of a wanderlust. And it's because potentially I had access to become one as a kid. But family-wise, I had a really healthy upbringing. I mean, I come from a very traditional family. My dad has his own things that he has gone through and works through his own emotions and doesn't always express himself well and can hold things and get really quiet and doesn't express his emotions in a way that's, I think in this new age that we're in, men are speaking about their emotions and their experience differently. My mom they're both very young, and my mom was someone that was trying to find her purpose and figure out who she was and didn't know how to fully communicate her inner world. And so my parents had their own friction and didn't know really how to communicate through it. And so as kids, you download that. You learn love through the love that you're shown and the love that you're given. And so I think as in any, dynamic when it comes to the parent and the child, you're always going to have to unlearn stuff. You're always going to have to advance the last generation and keep moving, pushing the needle forward. And so there are many things that acting classes and acting in general has allowed me to reflect on and look at and grow awareness in and help me unwind and unpack. And I think acting is a healthy vehicle to really get to know yourself and to explore some of these wounds that you may have.
Mm-hmm. And so you're in your family, is there any other actors? Like, I know you did a little bit of modeling was the modeling.
It was the worst model ever.
Oh, come on. You worked with Bruce Weber, which like I have a really insane Bruce Weber story. I mean, it's not that insane. It's just ridiculous. Where did the Bruce Weber Abercrombie and Fitch thing happen? And was that before you? Because I love your coming to LA story. And I really want I want my listeners to
so
hear.
embarrassing. I can't wait to share it.
Yeah, I love when you shared that with me, like let's just back up to there. So you're in Michigan.
So by the way, no one in my family was in the entertainment industry.
Nobody.
I didn't have any like performers or actors. Or my grandfather, my mom's dad, my grandpa Tom was a musician. He could play every instrument, and he was amazing. And I really wish that I took advantage of that and shown an interest in that at a young age. I didn't. I was much more interested in just being annoying and tearing shit up. And my grandpa thought I was the devil. I think he literally called me the devil once.
Wait, why?
I'm just a little wild man. I'm the middle child. I would always cause hell. I'm always somehow in the middle of whatever trouble is happening, or whatever. If my sister's crying, it's probably because I punched her. Or if my brother is mad about something, it's because I was probably like, egging him on or working to annoy him. I was always that. I was the middle child. I was a little shithead. I was the kid that my teacher in the 7th grade, I was put in a closet because I was misbehaving.
I was put in a box. Like, no, the same idea, like in the principal's office, a refrigerator box, like, then it was when Corey Hart was big before your time, about 5 years before your time. And in Canada, there was a song called The Boy in the Box, like New Camp Fox with the boy in the box. And that became my nickname because anybody who came to the principal's office, I was in a room in a refrigerator box for like a 3-day detention. So it's almost as humiliating as the closet. There's more metaphors with the closet, but they're actually similar.
Yeah, I would say there's probably a lot of metaphors also being in the box, but I love that we share that.
Why were you put in a closet?
I was just disruptive, and I feel like I had a bit of the class clown in me, and I was always seeking some kind of attention.
Me too. Yeah.
I just wanted that attention, and it's the attention that I didn't get from my dad that I wanted then to get everywhere else. And potentially there's some room in there for wanting to be an actor and explore that. But I would say mainly I was an athlete before I was an actor.
What sport?
Football was my sport. I wanted to be in the NFL. I played football since I was 8.
Really?
I was really good. I felt like I was always smaller and not as fast as everybody, but I had hands that I would never miss a ball. Never.
Were you a wide receiver or running back?
Yeah, I was a wide receiver.
Wow. Okay.
And so I did pretty well. For most, I played football until I was redshirted my freshman year of college, but I played in college, and the level of athleticism takes a big jump up. Even in a Division II school where I went to West Georgia, the speed of the game, the size of the game, it dramatically changed. And my body has this mechanism. And you could probably relate to this. I don't know what it is, but it has always protected me. Whenever I've done something for too long, whether that's as a youngster smoking too much marijuana or drinking alcohol in college too much and like pushing myself, whatever it is, my body, it protects me, and it goes, don't go any further with this. And there's never this tough, like, I have to like figure out how to get this out of my life and stop doing this. It's always like, oh, cool. I don't want to do that anymore. Something shuts off in me. And I feel like it's a self-protective mechanism that my body has had. And it had it with football. I knew playing football my freshman year, my body was like, no, this isn't the path anymore. Okay. And I just took a turn. And that turn led me to, I did modeling in college. So to go back to your question, I started to,
how did somebody find you, or did you want to do it?
So my friend Michael Pendergrass in high school was a model, and he modeled for Abercrombie. And he's like this. He's still to this day.
I know him. He's the one that told me about Vipassana. Actually, he was at my Vipassana.
What? Michael Pendergrass?
Is he not out? Was he not? Is this a different guy?
He lives in Georgia.
Oh, no, no, no. This
I
guy.
was in Georgia at this point. So I moved to Georgia. I went to high school. I went to middle school and high school in Georgia, in Peachtree City, just south of Atlanta. And
Okay.
Michael Pendergrass was this guy who's just fucking yoked.
I'm going to show you Michael Pendergrass. Let's see if it's the same guy, because I know a Michael Pendergrass who's super jacked uh, and model.
I hope is he a chiropractor right now?
Could be. Does he? Where does he live?
I think he still lives in Atlanta.
Okay, this could just be a wild. How do you to grass, like the grass?
Michael Pendergrass. Pendegrass.
Is this okay? Hold on. It's bringing up modeling pictures of a guy. The Hunger Games film, male model universe, Michael Pendergrass. Okay, is this the guy? This might be a different guy.
Yes, that's Michael Pendergrass.
This is not my Michael Pendergrass. We know two. That's hilarious. Okay, so he comes to you and he was modeling.
He was modeling in high school, and he modeled for Abercrombie & Fitch, and he was all over the posters and the bags and the buses or whatever the hell. And that's when Abercrombie & Fitch it was cool in the late 90s. I mean, thank God it's not anymore, because it shouldn't have been then. You see, he just had something that I wanted. And I asked him, I said, how did you do that? How did you make that happen? And he said he had an agent in Atlanta and that he could introduce me. He's like, that's all you need. You just need to have an agent. And I didn't know how the business worked. I didn't know it was that simple. Oh, I just have to get an agent and then I can do that. And I didn't have the most self-esteem when I was in high school. Look, I'm flawed, Paul, okay? I'm still working on my self-esteem, buddy.
You are?
But in high school, I saw this guy and I thought he had everything, because all the girls liked him. He had big muscles and he was on the poster. I was like, I kind of want that. And my mom said, no, you're not going to model until graduate high school first. Just focus on your studies and then we'll think about it. So, okay. So I graduated, and then my mom gave me the approval to reach out to the agent. I sent a picture of me holding a football and a pot-belly pig named Crazy Carl that my dad had just gotten, this little Vietnamese pot-belly pig. And so I had Crazy Carl and a football in my hand, and my shirt was off. I'm this little skinny 17-year-old.
Oh, do you have that picture?
I must somewhere.
Please find it, because if you do, I'm going to put it right here. please okay. Find it. Please find it.
I'll see. I'm sure I do. But
okay.
The agency. So I sent it into the agency, and then I followed up in about a week, and they said, "Oh yeah, you're the guy with the pig. Come on in. Like let's talk." And so I got an agent, and then I took a bunch of photos, and then from there I started doing very local things. Like I was in Walmart nationwide. I think I was this little store called Goodies I was in. And then I got Abercrombie & Fitch in 2001 as my sophomore year of college.
Did you go meet Bruce Weber, or did they just send pictures?
I have no idea.
How you got it? Do you remember me? Did he shoot it? Yes.
So I went to Savannah, Georgia, and we had this incredible photo shoot, and it was really exciting. These shoots were highly produced, and you're with a bunch of other young men and women, and we had a lot of fun. We'd hang out, we'd party, and we'd have good food. We had the photo shoot. It was very quick. It all happened pretty quickly, and they chose some really cool pictures of me. I did get asked to stay an extra 3 days.
Ooh.
There was only like 2 or 3 other guys that got asked that, and I was told to be weary about any extra asks that I received on that job, and just to do what I was paid for and go home. And I'll just leave it at that. And so I did. So I didn't stay, and I went back. I went back to school, and some of the other guys that ended up taking some more photos, some really risky photos, came out. And so I'm glad I just protected myself there. But yeah, that was I got to be exactly what Michael Pendergrass had. I got to have that moment for myself, and just to let you know, it wasn't that fulfilling.
Right. But cool.
It's going to be this thing, and it's not. It's just like a little quick moment, and then it's gone.
I know, but it's cool that you could see something that you want to create and go after it and then engineer it for yourself. And like that builds confidence, man. And then like that obviously happened with acting too. So you saw what's that, how did that translate to like you going, you're there, and then you're like, okay, I want to act. What was the thing that made you think you know you wanted to act and then go after it? I want to hear the story of you coming to California.
I love your perspective on that, though, of seeing something that you want and creating the inner mechanism to get it, and then calling it forward and making it happen. I like that interaction with the world. I think
Yeah.
I think that is a confidence builder, and that's a strength. And so I think that's a better way to look at how I created that.
For sure. And you're on a really a hit show. You've obviously, whether you know it or not, you've developed a way of doing that in many areas. Whether you want that body that you had in you figured out a way to get it. Like it's a really it's a skill set that's something to be really proud of. And it's actually something that it's really interesting to understand how you do it, because there's a lot of people watching and that will watch this over the years that is like how do you see a goal and a dream that you want to create, and then how do you actually go after it? And then once you get it, like you said, there's not that much fulfillment there, but then like how does this thing that you did, how does that happen inside of acting for you? Like how do you switch? What happened there?
Just to clarify, I do think not all of the scenarios will feel. I think that whenever there are many scenarios in my life that I wanted something, I managed to figure out how to create that, and then I had it in my life, and I achieved it, and it is incredibly fulfilling.
Yeah.
Having that and seeing it and creating it and doing it and achieving it is the journey to get there is so much of the victory itself. But then having it, there is that moment where it's a moment and it's locked in, and you get to feel it, and it's incredibly fulfilling. But that doesn't last forever. Like that's just like a quick window, and then it's on to the next thing.
Yeah.
So how did I get into acting?
Yeah, if there's no other actors in your family and except your grandpa's an artist, like a musician, but what's the thing that you saw that you're like, I want to do that, and then what's the next step you took, and how did you get out to LA, and then tell us that journey?
I don't think I ever wanted to be an actor.
Really?
I don't remember having that desire.
Hmm.
I always wanted to be in the NFL. I always wanted. I loved sports. I loved every aspect of sports. I loved the team component of it. I loved the practice makes perfect element. I love the like enduring through pain and playing through it and showing up for yourself and your team. I loved the travel element of it. I loved the high stakes and the pressure of the games. I loved the achievement and the victory. I loved sports. Sports is my lane. I loved competition. So all of these elements were something that I was all about it. And I never thought I want to go off and act. That was not a thought that crossed my mind. I did, however, I had that for modeling. I was like, well, I want to model. That'd be great. Let's do that. And then as I modeled, I realized I didn't like it. I just didn't feel like I was good at it. I felt like I was a deer in headlights. I felt like it was in front of the camera, but it felt vapid to me. And I felt vapid in the process of it. And that's not all models, and that's just my process through it. And I felt like I wanted to, I think maybe that's when it started to dawn on me that I wanted to do more in front of the camera that just wasn't taking still photos. And I got this opportunity to try out for a reality show called Are You Hot?
Oh.
And it was a show that was being cast nationwide. And I'm sure it's absolutely an atrocity to humanity that the show was even made. But this is when reality shows were just starting to come on the scene. This is the very early 2000s.
Yeah.
So nowadays there's a reality show for everything.
Right.
There wasn't then. And so all these ideas, it's almost like the .com, when the .com era happened, it was like a million .coms were popping out, and some of them made it, some of them didn't. reality shows were starting to come on the scene, and ideas were being thrown just to see what would stick. And one was thrown out called "Are You Hot?" And Lorenzo Lamas, Rachel, someone, and some other stylist, they basically would judge you. You get on a stage, and they would actually pick you apart. They would judge your body, they would judge your face, they would judge your hair, they would judge just how you showed up as a person, and they would rate you whether you were hot or not. And there was this scale of hotness, and it's, I mean, it's actually a sign of humanity and some of our lower nature, and how I think we're a lot of times we follow what we see visually, and it's all surface. And a lot of us have been victim to that. I know that I have in my life. And so I think I put on this was the first time I put on a character. I decided to audition for this. My agents called me. They said, we have an audition for you. It's called the Are You Hot show. And I thought, this is a stupid idea. Let's do it. And so I borrowed my friend's pants. He had a really nice pair of jeans. I borrowed his leather jacket because I didn't have any like fancy clothes. Hey, Karen. Did you hear her?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. What's Karen doing? I love that she's
Karen.
called Karen. Why is she called Karen?
Come here. You want to say hi to Paul?
Hello, Karen.
I'll tell you why she's called Karen. It's a really sweet story. But I decided to put on a character and pretend like I had everything together in my life, and that I was the biggest ladies' man. I was the most confident human being. And I walked into this audition, my shoulders were puffed out, and I think I even said something like, yeah, I got girls calling me all the time, but whatever. I kind of did that whole thing, and they chose me to be on the show. They aired that moment on national television.
Oh boy.
My friend reached out. He's like, I'm not going to be calling you after this. But they flew me back to Los Angeles.
Okay.
I am so nervous to be on the show. There's just like a bunch of like really attractive people, and they all seem to be really confident. And I'm just like, what am I doing here? I remember I'm on stage, and I've got this tight shirt on that I went and bought from Banana Republic or something when I was in Los Angeles. And I got sweaty armpits. Like my pits are just drenched in sweat. I'm standing behind stage, and they're about to call my name, and I'm about to go up in front of 300 people and walk down the runway and stand. And I'm going to be told that I'm hot or not. And I just remember being like sweating. And so I walk out, and I've got this long little like runway thing that I do. And I get out, and I kind of have this look, and I'm nervous as hell. And all of a sudden I just get the not sign. There's like an actual hot or not sign above me. And I get the not sign, and like, okay. So I leave, and they do these post interviews. And the guy before me had gotten not hot as well. And he's crying in his post interview going like, this was my dream. And I'm standing behind him watching him thinking, what are you talking about? This was your dream? Okay. And so they put me on my post interview, and I think I said something like, I don't know, I was like something about how this was stupid. I made some weird fart noise. They put that in the show. They put all the things in the show. But hey, long story short, I get invited from the choreographer of that show. He was the one that choreographed our opening. We walked out on the show, and we had this opening number that we did. He choreographed it, and he saw something in me. And he said, hey, you should come out to LA. You should be an actor. You should get into extra work. I can get you into an acting class. Maybe down the road, I can get you an agent. He's like, you can live with me.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So he had an ulterior motive. He did. And it's something that I've never really shared publicly, but he definitely had an ulterior motive.
Sure.
I think his intentions were partly pure and partly, self-advantageous. And so he definitely wanted to hook up with me.
Right. Or at least watch you get out of the shower a few times or something.
He said I could stay with him. And he happened to have two other guys from the Are You Hot show staying with him as well. And it was something that the first thought of that idea was like, no, I'm good.
Right.
So he called me like 4 or 5 more times over the course of the next 3 or 4 months as I was winding down my junior year of university. And he called me the last time. He's like, hey, this is the last time I'm going to ask. I just have a strong feeling that you should be in California. I just wanted to put it out there one more time. This summer is going to be a big summer out here. You can get on Young and the Restless and Passions as an extra. It's like I can help get you your SAG card pretty quickly.
Wow.
Like, there's a lot of opportunity out here. And so I heard him differently that time. And so I reached out to my mom and my dad and I said, what do I do? What would you do? And my dad said, well, just go for the summer. Let's pack your car up. I'll drive out there with you and I'll fly home. He's like, just go. I asked my grandma what I should do. And my grandmother said, look, university isn't going anywhere. This opportunity might never come back.
Right.
Go.
Wow.
Go. So I went. And so I went out there and I was incredibly nervous because I didn't know anybody in LA. And I knew I was going to be staying with this guy and I didn't know him and I was a little nervous. And I pretty quickly, my second day in LA, I was in an acting class. I was working as an extra on Young and the Restless and Passions very quickly. Within a month and a half, I got my 3 SAG vouchers. So I was SAG eligible. I transferred from Red Lobster in Noonan, Georgia, to the one on La Cienega in Wilshire. And I was staying in this, his name is Tony Gonzalez. I was staying in his bedroom on the floor on a blow-up mattress. And I had this apartment right off Hollywood Boulevard. And so I quickly realized, like, damn, I love LA and I want to do this acting thing. And that's when it birthed. It didn't birth before that.
Wow. There's like a lot of resistance. There was a lot of signs for you not to do it. It's like the 3 days after with Bruce Weber. It's like, there's probably that feeling of like, this doesn't feel right. Like, that's surprise. I don't remember that part of the story.
It felt right to go to LA.
Yeah.
It didn't feel right to, I mean, I think the part that didn't feel right was as a younger man, I was tried to be taken. Basically, men tried to take advantage of me while I was in my late teens and early 20s. And a lot of the times, I didn't necessarily know how to put up a boundary or to express myself and go, this doesn't feel right. And I'm not talking sexually, but they would like, I remember there was a photographer that tried to get me to take off my clothes in one of the photo shoots. And I felt really uncomfortable. I think I was like 17 years old. And he promised that, he's like, I can get you, these photos will get you like a really great photo shoot all throughout Asia. And we can travel together and you make a lot of money. But I need to get this particular shot. And at that moment, I didn't know how to, I didn't know how to be strong enough to go, you're full of shit. You just want some photos of me in these risky positions. Go fuck yourself, guy. And you know what? Don't do this to other young men.
Right.
I didn't know how to do that. I just kind of succumbed to it. I didn't have a sense of self. I didn't know how to defend myself in that. And so I took some risky photos, but I never showed anything.
Thank God.
And I remember taking some photos and my agent saw those photos and she goes, hey, just so you know, don't take photos like that anymore. If someone asks, don't do that. Like we don't need those and you don't need that for yourself.
Right.
And that was a moment where I'm like, oh, okay, I could have learned from that. And then with this particular situation in LA, I think that there was partly a situation where so Tony, I'm very grateful for him. And again, I've never shared this publicly when I've always been very hesitant to share this side of it because it's tricky. And, you know, it's not going to show me in like the strongest light, but I think being vulnerable is really important. And, you know, this idea of social media, we can show the very polished versions of ourselves, but we're not always polished.
I like that about you, and you share all kinds of things on your social media. Like when you're going through something physical or emotional, or with losing that your pup, and then like work, like I love that about you, man. And I think as men, and thanks to stuff you're doing, and Justin Baldoni, your friend as well, it's allowing men to be, and this is a whole other topic obviously, but allowing the vulnerability and the reality and the truthfulness of men to allow yourself to be seen as more than just like, I am a king, I am this masculine god, and like watch me roar. Like that toxic masculinity is like, you are such an example, and Justin of course as well, of a very masculine man, but that's also in touch and allows himself to be vulnerable, and even allow the feminine side. Like I have a ton of feminine energy, creative, an artist, a musician. I like food. I like things that are feminine, like, but I'm a man. And so I like that. I love that about your social media feed too, is like you shared some pretty vulnerable things I don't think a lot of guys would.
Well, I think there's a platform. I think social media has a lot of blessings to it. There's a lot of opportunity for truth. And I don't think we always take that route. I think a lot of times self-aggrandizing and you know, we get a lot of our approval from social media. And so that's definitely a slippery slope. But I think it's important to be vulnerable. And I'm learning how to do that in my life. And being vulnerable requires you to reveal aspects of yourself that maybe weren't your proudest moment, or where you were too weak to stand up for yourself, and or maybe you just didn't have the knowledge or awareness to know yourself enough to sidestep a situation that was a little bit sketchy. And I think for me, the situation that brought me to LA, it was one that I think was really pure from Tony Gonzalez. It was really pure that he saw something in me. And the second side is that he mentioned many times, like, if you ever, become gay, he's like, I want to be your first hookup. And I remember I was cooking in the kitchen. He kissed my shoulder once, and I'm like, what the hell? And one time we sat on the couch and he like sat close to me. He put his arm around me and was like, I didn't know if he was making an advance. And I called my dad and I said, Dad, what do I do?
Right.
And he said, just keep your space. You don't have anywhere to go right now. You don't just like, you don't have anywhere else to live.
Right.
So just like protect yourself and be smart. But there was an advance made on me at one point, and it was a really confusing moment for me in my life. I was 21 years old,
Sure.
and I had just gotten back from working at Red Lobster, and it was just Tony and I in the house. And he's like, you look stressed from work. Let me give you a massage. And I'm like, oh, okay, fine, whatever, give me a massage. And so, we kind of moved to the couch. He's like, no, let's go over there in the bed. There's more space. He started to give me a massage, and, I'm a little resistant, but like, okay, cool. Like my shoulder, I've got that thing there. He's like, digging that. That's cool. Thinking very like, I'm not thinking anything is going to happen here. And as he slowly starts to massage, eventually I feel his penis on my back, his erect penis. And it was something that it scared me, it shocked me. And because we're sexual animalistic creatures, I was like starting to like feel things. And I'm like, what is get off of me?
Yeah.
And it was a moment that really, as a young man, I didn't know how to understand that moment. And for a while there, I'm like, well, I was really mad at him. And I've never confronted him. I've never talked to him about this. I've never publicly spoken about this moment. But it was not, I was, in a sense, I was molested.
Yeah.
In that moment. And I did not know how to defend myself.
Right.
And I carried that forward going, why did that move me? Why did I start to feel all those like arousal feelings? Mm-hmm. Who am I? And I thought for a long time, I'm like, maybe I'm gay. Maybe I'm not. But we're sexual beings. And I was put in a very precarious situation, and I was molested. And it was very confusing, and I didn't know how to understand it. And it took me a long time to confront that and unpack that, and just think that I was taken advantage of. This person with an ulterior motive took advantage of a young mind that didn't know how to defend himself. And I had to go through my process of forgiving this guy, and I'm pretty sure that probably happened to other young men, and it's happened to other young men.
Sure.
And it still happens to young men. And it's for me, it was a moment that, when the Me Too movement happened, I thought about sharing this moment, but I didn't have the courage.
Right.
I did not have the courage to stand up and say, this happened to me, and this is the person that did it, and that's not okay, and he better not fucking do that to anybody else.
Wow.
And so I think that there's moments that I've learned I've had to unpack a lot of these moments. And, to go back to what you said about acting is also a therapeutic vehicle.
Yeah.
And, also therapy has been a therapeutic vehicle.
Yeah.
So that was just something that for some reason just came out now. And it was learning lessons for me to understand who I am and how to actually share these things, because it's important for other young men that are going through this to know that they have a voice. They can defend themselves.
Yep.
They can stand up for themselves. They can set up a healthy boundary.
Mm-hmm.
Even if they don't have the emotional tools, like there are people that they can talk to now. This is something that people can be vocal about now. And if something like this is happening to you in your life, express yourself, tell a friend, get yourself out of it, talk about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's how I came to LA.
Wow. But then thank you for sharing that, by the way. I'm sure that can help a lot of young men and women that are thinking about going after something. A lot of people are going to watch this because they want to become actors too. And it's so important for them to know that you can say no, and you can set up healthy boundaries, and you can have a voice and to avoid those situations. And it's like, what other advice would you give someone, Travis, that's looking at you and thinking, hey, I want to, because you look at your IMDb here real quick, and we'll come back to this, and you have 53 acting credits. It's like you've done some really cool things. Like, of course, you've done a bunch of Hallmark things. The Last Ship was a big run for you. The Scorpion, the Mantervention, but there's the Heart of Dixie, which a lot of people love that show a lot. The Transformers, like to be a part of Transformers with Michael Bay, 2.5 Men, CSI Miami, the Two Broke Girls, Happy Endings, there, Law and Order, Friday the 13th, which is probably Meet the Spartans as Veronica Mars. You have the OC, Seventh Heaven, Malcolm in the Middle, Quintuplets, which was your first thing, right? Quintuplets was your first thing?
That's So Raven was my first thing.
Really?
That was my first guest star.
Okay.
My first thing co-star was Mad TV.
No kidding.
It was Mad TV. Yeah, so I got to be in front of a live audience in front of 300 people, and I got to do this ridiculously over the top scene where I was a volleyball player.
Which you came out and played volleyball with me and my son the other day. That was
you are an incredible volleyball player. I felt so out of place. I'm like, this music I'm playing for a long time.
But you picked it up really, really fast, man. And
that's the thing, and so when I first came out to LA and I started taking an acting class, and I realized this is something that I'm very interested in doing. I love this. I went all in. I jumped in. I was in 3 classes a week. I was creating my own basically university course for myself. And I became like in volleyball. If I want to be good at volleyball, cool. I'm going to throw myself into it, and I'll see you in a month, and let's play again in a month. And you'll see. You'll see.
Well, even in that 45 or the hour and a half we played, the where you were at the very beginning of that time we spent, it was probably over an hour and a half, and then where you were at the end, I would give you like a little tweak. I'm like, just adjust this, and you would or soften this bit here, and then you're obviously a very good athlete, and a very and so much energy. You're like jumping this high out of the sand. Let me ask you this. Okay, so you did. I still want to find out, because you left LA, you ran out of money, right? And then you had to go back, and then you did it again, right? You didn't, that wasn't your.
No, what do you mean?
So when you were there, and didn't you have to go back to Georgia and then come back? Is that another friend of mine that told me their LA story?
Yeah.
I was excited about a story that somebody else had told me that I thought was your story. So wait a second. So from there, in his living room, and you're staying with him, with Tony.
Yep, Tony.
How do you get out on your own, and when does Mad TV happen, and when do you go like, all right, I'm on my own, I can do this?
So I didn't get in. So basically, I stayed there for 3 months.
Okay.
And for like the last month and a half, him and I didn't speak. We didn't really even make eye contact. It was just, I put up that protective boundary. And I waited until I found a situation where I met someone that I wanted to live with. And my friend Richard Chu, I met in one of my acting classes. Him and I became fast friends. And then we moved into a really great apartment in Koreatown in September. So my 4th month in LA, I was on this really cool trajectory with great friends, and I felt safe. And I still stayed in touch with. So it's so complicated because Tony had this tenacity. He's like, you have to work harder than everybody else in this business. You need to be on top of your agents. You need to be in every class you can get in, because you have to set yourself apart from everybody. And so he had a lot of gifts that he gave me. Yet it was riddled with the other side of it. But I actually reached out to him and I said, hey, I want to get an agent. And at 6 months, he reached out to one of his friends, and he set me up with an audition for an agent. So I got an agent after 6 months.
Wow.
And so when I got the agent, they put me in their developmental category, and I started doing student films. And then once I started booking a good amount of student films, they put me into auditioning for co-stars. And then I booked Mad TV. And then I booked like an independent film with Chris Pines. I remember he was the lead in it, and I forgot who I played. It was so long ago, 2004. But I then started booking independent movies, and so then they started sending me out for guest stars, and that's when I really started to get into a run. And I got in a run of guest stars, back to back to back to back. Then I landed Accepted, which was my first studio picture with Justin Long and Jonah Hill and Blake Lively and Kellen Lutz, and like a lot of really amazing people were in that movie. And that was 2005. And I was working at a restaurant, and I quit working at a restaurant the moment I booked that film, and made a declaration that I would never work at a restaurant again, and I'd only support myself from acting. And so that was in 2005. And then, I had many pockets where, of course, I didn't work and I was struggling for cash, but I committed to that declaration, and I've never worked in a restaurant since, and I've only supported myself from acting. I've never had to go back to Georgia to like recoup. But I have borrowed. I have the privilege of being able. I borrowed money from my grandma, my grandpa, once or twice. I'm pretty sure I borrowed money from my mom and dad a few times. Always paid it back. I think I borrowed $5,000 from an agent at one point. Paid it back. So I've definitely had moments where I was struggling, and I had people that believed in me, that allowed me to keep going. And that's where my privilege has come in, because some people might not have the support system for that, and they then have to quit, or they have to leave, or they have to go back to their hometown. And so I've been incredibly fortunate to have people surround me that believe in me, that had the ability to assist me in the moments when I needed it most, so I could stay in the game.
Yeah. And is there one person that stands out as somebody that like really believed in you, and like without that person, none of this would have happened? Is there one person?
My parents and my grandparents, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
I love that your grandma's like, college isn't going anywhere. Just go out there. I remembered who it is. It's actually Andrew Walker. Has a very similar, because he was a football player in college, and he was modeling. And my brain literally took your stories, because he came out to LA and then did a thing and then ran out of money and then had to go back. But his is the exact, except for he had an injury from his football. But like your two stories literally did this in my brain. And because do you know Andrew Walker?
Course. I love Andrew Walker. He's a good friend, and there's a lot of similarities we have. And
I know. Yeah. He was on the show. He came on maybe 6 months ago as well. How do you know Andrew?
I met Andrew. I think I met Andrew and Cassandra through my buddy Eugene. And
Okay.
so Kevin Peak, do you know Kevin Peak?
Uh-uh.
So Kevin Peak was one of my original roommates that stayed with me in that place in Hollywood with Tony Gonzalez that was also on the Are You Hot show. And
Oh,
Kevin Peak is still a friend of mine to this day.
wow.
And I love him so much. And he's an amazing businessman. He's doing great things. I think I may have met Andrew through him or through Eugene, but I'm
Okay.
invested in Andrew's juice company. And
Oh,
yeah, so I linked up with him 6 years ago and joined his.
did you find him like at yoga or something? I always ran into him at yoga. I ran into you at that hot yoga as well. Andrew always goes there too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so you're in LA, you're by yourself now. You found a roommate and you're starting to get some co-stars. And was there a moment when you're like, I know you said you're never going to go back, but like, acting, people don't understand this. Like it can be feast or famine. We look at your IMDb, Travis, and you have 53 credits, but what in over 20 years, is it about 20 years you've been out here? Maybe a little more.
I'm almost at 19.
Yeah. Same as me, actually. I'm 18, my son, 17 and a half, 18. And they
You
don't understand. It's like,
pick.
you can look at an IMDb like yours and be like, this guy's a superstar and he's a gajillionaire. But what people don't understand is there's definitely ebbs and flows. And was there ever a time when you're just like, I think I've made a mistake, like I am not supposed to be doing this? Was there ever been a time of that?
Many,
Yeah.
many times.
Yeah, well, you're like, I remember I ran into you a few years ago and you were off the last ship. I think I was doing When Calls a Heart and some Hallmark stuff, and I dropped by in my car and you're like, bro, it's been a really, like, I don't know what I'm doing at this moment. Do you remember that? And I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah. Of course I remember that. I think part of this is a tough business. I mean, look, every business is tough. This one particularly is it tests the deepest part of you, and it will bury you if you let it. And I've had many times where I felt like I was in the process of in being buried, and I I've gone through multiple times in my career where it was a dry spell for like a year. Like I didn't work for a long chunk of time.
yeah,
And I think the hardest part to me when I've always questioned my career are after a really big job that I've had, and I think it's just going to transition to something huge, and then it's crickets. And in those moments, I then question everything. I then think, oh, I thought this was the time that it was really going to begin to take off. This is the moment. And then I in the past have been faced with the reality of, oh, I'm not working right now. And I'd had to come to terms with that of, oh, it's okay. It's a process of finding that next thing that's in right alignment with you, the next story that you want to tell, the next team that you're going to team up with that's a good fit for you. There's a journey it's been for me to get to my next like really great gig. And so sometimes I have to shake up my environment. And so after you and I spoke, actually, I went off to New York. I thought I need to get out of LA for a second. I just need a new change. I need a new pulse. I need a new energy. And New York is alive. And so I went to New York for the summer. That was the plan. I did not have a job. I was frustrated that I just finished the last ship. I went through pilot season and crickets. Pilot season is when you audition for a bunch of different shows on network television, usually from like January to April. So the show ended in November of 2017. All of basically the first half of 2018 was crickets for me. And I was just really frustrated. I lost a little bit of my confidence and I was questioning what I was doing in this town and this business. And so I let me shake it up. Let me go to a very creative place. Let me go to New York. And very quickly in New York, I felt this rush of energy, and I felt like I was like standing up for myself when people would like bump me or say fuck you to me or whatever it is. Because in New York, you get confronted often. It just happens. New York taught me to stand up for myself and say fuck off, guy, and not feel bad about it.
right.
And so very quickly, I found this masculine part of myself that I thought I had lost. And not that you need to be, not that like the fuck you was masculine. I don't want to like get into that.
Sure. I know what you're saying. You found the grit and the energy of New York. And didn't you book like a massive show? Like right when you got there, you you're working with, what's his name? What was a show you booked?
Alan Cumming. So what I did was I ended up, I would say 2 months into me being there, and I got this great audition, and I had to go through the ringer to get the job, but I ended up getting the job. And
What was it called again?
it's called Instinct on CBS. And Alan Cumming is one of the most generous, amazing, hilarious human beings I've ever met in my life. And I'm still friends with him to this day.
Yeah.
And I will continue to be. But I got to work on this amazing job. And I felt like Michael Rausch was the showrunner, and he was very collaborative. He wanted to know my ideas.
Cool.
My natural energy of who I am fit right into this show. They needed whatever they were missing. I felt like I was that thing, and the season was just incredible ride for me. And we unfortunately didn't get picked up for another season, but that moment for me, it revitalized me, and it refocused me, and it kept me in my purpose and in the game. And so for me, I've had many moments where I've questioned my place in this business. And because of choices I've made to change up my environment, or jump into a different class that scares me, or try a new kind of therapy, or maybe just do nothing at all and just like take time to go experience life, whatever it is, there's usually a way that has brought me, a route that's brought me back into experiencing this business in a way that's just more full and whole. And it's been the process for me. It's been there is this ebb and this flow, but I've always trusted that this is where I'm supposed to be. And and part of my process is sometimes questioning that. And that's okay. That's normal. And just keep going forward.
Yeah. Is that what advice would you give someone who's thinking about starting out right now, like say a young guy or a young woman that's just about to start? What advice would you give them? I mean, they can pull from this conversation like their own advice, but what's something you would tell directly to them? You're about to start acting, do not do this or do this.
I think if you're just about to start acting, I think you need to put yourself in a position where there's a lot of creativity around you, where there's a lot of work happening, whether that's theater, whether that's, television or film, whatever it is, you need to be around it. Put yourself into the system. You can't try to make it living in Des Moines, Iowa. Is Des Moines in Iowa?
I think so. Yeah,
Okay.
it should be.
If you're just like there and you're like, what do you say?
It sounds right.
It sounds right. You can't do it. You have to be there. You have to put yourself in the city. So come to LA, go to New York, go to Atlanta, go to Vancouver, go to the places where the business is really popping, and literally set down an anchor. Give yourself, I told myself when I came out to LA, I'm going to give myself a year. I'm going to make it in a year. I mean, how naive was I? After a year went by and I was starting to really fall in love with this, with acting, with just LA, I thought, okay, let me give myself 2 years. 2 years went by and I said, okay. And because I still hadn't made it yet. I'm like, okay, 3 years. I'll make it in 3 years. And eventually I was like, okay, 5. I'm in 5 years. And then by the time I got to 5 years, I was like, I'm going to stop. I want to do this. Clearly, I don't need to keep giving myself these landmark moments to keep me in the game. This is what I want to do. So my second piece of advice is, if you want to do it, then fucking do it. You just have to do it. That's it. And if the door's open, well, the door's open. If they don't, then it wasn't for you.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that, man. I love what, one thing that you did right after New York was you went to London to do that incredible Shakespeare, and you really put yourself, it sounds like this Tony guy, telling you to put yourself in it and to really work hard and to do what other people aren't willing to do. Like going to the Royal Shakespeare Company, what you did, that's a lot of people wouldn't be willing to do that. Tell us about that, because I was really compelled when you shared that with me about you going, and what was that like, and why'd you do that?
So it's the athlete in me. It's the competitor in me. It's the athlete and the competitor in me, and it's something that is, I just have this desire to. I'm hungry for growth and for learning and for achievement and for expression. I'm hungry for it. So for me, the show Instinct had just ended, and I have always been drawn to want to understand Shakespearean acting, because it's if you can act in the Shakespearean tongue, you can do anything. And
Right,
so
right.
for me, I wanted to throw myself into this because it's it's what you learn when you go to Juilliard. You train with the greats. You train the classic material, and I wanted to feel that. I wanted to know that, and so I went to the source. I went to London. And, we actually visited where Shakespeare was born, and so I just wanted to go. It's the same thing that happened when I was getting very much into understanding meditation. I wanted to go to the source. So I went to India. I want to experience 10 days of silence. I went to this amazing ashram. I wanted to go to the source. It's the same advice I just gave to an actor. Go to where it's happening.
Mm.
So I wanted to go learn Shakespeare, where all of it was birthed. And I threw myself into this incredible program at Lambda, and it was a summer-long program, and it was incredibly challenging and so much fun. And it was we played all these theater games, and I got to perform 2 different plays, Midnight Summer's Dream, and I got to play Bottom, which is this wild, over the top actor. He's a thespian, and I got to just play this incredible role, and we got to perform it in front of the school. And we ended up doing another play. I already forgot what it was, but it was really freaking intense, and I think I had to kill somebody or something. But it was.
I wonder if that grandiose character you had to play in Bottom helped you with the Carrie character in you, because like that, I mean, you can do that anyway, but you really embodied that in that scene at the camping thing, that it didn't, that could be so cliche and you could have done that, but it felt like it was like I did that. So did the Shakespeare, the things you do you find it after that, did you find it helped the work you were doing?
I think it probably has to. I think for me, I like to make investments in myself and
Yeah.
in work. And so for me, I knew that was an investment. I don't know how it necessarily plays into the work going forward, but I know that it's a big deposit for
Yeah.
me. That was a big creative deposit. We studied so much about our voice, about articulation. You study this, you really learn about your breath. You really get in touch with your instincts and your body. And basically it was just like, it was acting camp.
Yeah.
It was Shakespearean acting camp. And so I'm sure that there is, I'm sure that it has some resonance in my life now. I can't give you pinpoint like a moment, but yeah, it lives in me. Sure. I've always
And
been the one that I've always wanted to go to university and go through it like a 3 or 4 year program. I still have that desire now. I would go to Juilliard for 3 years now. That to me sounds like something that would just deepen me as a performer.
you should just apply and just do their audition and go.
I did. I applied. I guess that's what I didn't share, was that in a moment when I wasn't, after the last ship, when I was frustrated with everything, I was going to apply to go to RADA in London. I was going to go to this 3-year course. I'm like, you know what? If I'm not getting work right now, I'm going to go deep in my craft, and in 3 years, I'll gain 10 years
Wow. Yeah.
in my ability. And so I went applied, and I was going to go audition in San Francisco to see if I got in. And I made the decision to do that. And as soon as I made that decision in my mind, I'm not kidding you. This was like a cinematic moment at the beach. There's, all the birds and seagulls are flying around. The sun is setting, and I made the decision. I'm going to go do this. I talked to my dad. My dad's like, you know what? If that's what you want, go for it. And I was on the drive home to go apply, and I got a call from my manager. My manager said, "Hey, I got something to tell you." And I was like, "I got something to tell you first. Here's what I'm doing. I'm going to go back to school. This is what's going to happen. I'm going to go get my degree at RADA. I'm going to blah, 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 blah." And he goes, "Oh, that sounds great. CBS just offered you a holding deal." And so there was like, I wanted to go, and I ended up going a different route. Because there was an opportunity that came up in my career. And because I planted that seed that I want to go to university, that's why I went after Filming Instinct. That seed was already planted for me, and I had to go live out that. Because I saw it in my mind, I had to go do it. So that was like the consolation prize. I couldn't go to university for 3 years, but I'm going to go for the summer.
What was the holding deal? I think you told me about that a little bit.
The holding deal, I got really lucky, and I got a CBS put a holding deal on me. Uh, it was actually in the interim of finding out if Instinct was going to go to another season.
Got it. Okay.
So they held me just for 6 months to let me know, like, hey, we're just so you know, we want you for the next season, but we don't know if we're going to go another season.
And so you couldn't audition for other things. They held you.
Pretty much.
Wow.
So that's why I had the time to go to.
How cool. And is that also in that time that you did that amazing road trip where you were going to come see us in Arrowhead, and then it didn't work out, but then you went on this 2 months, you were just in your car during COVID, like the peak of COVID.
Yeah.
And you would send, like, on your Instagram, you find you jumping into this freezing lake, and then you would meet a stranger, and then you would kind of visit with them for, like, you had this crazy, like, I love this about you, Travis. And I this podcast is called The Grass is Greener with Paul Greene. And the point of it is, that's from the quote, the grass is greener where you water it. And I like having people on that drink water. I like having people on that water the grass and nurture the things that they love. And you seem like so full of adventure. And I love all these little chapters. And so some people will look at your IMDb, or look at your Hallmark films, or your CBS, your TV shows, and people have this sort of idea that it comes easy to some people like us. And it's just like, oh, how lucky are they? But what I love is unpacking all these little moments. And like, even this road trip that you did is like, it's what gives you the stuff that allows you then, when you're given a blank or a piece of paper with words on it, to bring all of the things that make up Travis into those words, and have it come to life in a way that people can connect to. Right. So tell us just a little bit about this road trip, and if you want, just like, you can make it short or whatever, but what prompted it? And it's after London, and what did you do?
So you just brought up an interesting reflection. For the first 10 years I was in LA, I was so focused on learning how to act and throwing myself into the craft of it all. I didn't go off and experience life that much. And I was so, I had such a strong focus that nothing was going to deter me from that. And I had a teacher tell me once, she's like, you got to go, like, also live your life. Like, go out and experience things. That's what's also going to help you become a great actor. And I think after that, being in LA for 10 years, I started to really live by that creed, where I need to go. I need to go off and have experiences. I need to go. And I think there was a desire during COVID, where everything was shut down. No one knew what the heck was going to happen with the world. I was tired of being locked up in my apartment, and I just got this little puppy, Karen. I'm like, I'm going to go on a road trip. And so I had to burn off a bunch of miles in my car because my lease was ending soon. I had, I think, 14,000 miles to burn off that I'd already prepaid for. So it's like, let's do this thing. And I love going on road trips because you're forced to be in the moment. You're forced to, like, really, you really have to engage with the environment. And, like, let's say, for example, you have this idea that you want to go to this particular campground because it looks so amazing online. You go there, as soon as you arrive, the feeling's off, the vibe isn't there.
Yeah.
Then you go, oh no, I'm gonna go somewhere else. You have to change your plans based upon what you're receiving in the moment. And you can on a road trip. There's no structure that's in place. And you're able to just bounce around and really find where you want to go based upon it's just really based upon what the hell is happening in the moment. So for me, that road trip was significant because I just kept saying yes. And an idea would pop in my head. I'm like, I need to go to the Catskills and see my friend Alan. So I went, and then I'm like, you know what? I should drive to the highest point in the UP of Michigan. I've never done that. Okay. Right. I was just able to listen to these ideas that came up and say yes. And that, to me, that road trip was just inspired by this desire to go and have some freedom when most of the world was so constrained and locked indoors. And so I wanted out. And some people were like, hey, COVID's out there, be careful, be safe. And you could still travel. Like, I was still incredibly safe. I wore my mask when I needed to, but I got to go stay with friends along the way, meet new friends, stay at campgrounds, see the most beautiful locations in the United States, and have adventure after adventure. I was gone for basically 2.5 months.
And how many miles did you put on your car?
Did 12,000.
Yes. All right.
Yeah.
And Karen came the whole time. Karen was with you.
Oh yeah,
What a
this dog
sweet,
spoiled.
spoiled little dog. So how does Build On come into all this? Because that's a way, like you have such a side, you have this, I want to touch on Build On, and I want to touch on your faith before we wrap up here. There's so many things we could talk about. We could talk about your meditation, your fitness routine, what you're eating now, but I end up with, especially actors that I love, we end up talking quite a bit about acting because it's it's obviously what we do as a profession, but there's so much to unpack inside of it. But I feel before we wrap up, I really want to just understand your faith. And I know you're in Baha'i faith, but I also want to understand Build On, because I want to bring some awareness to Build On.
Right.
Through my concerts this month on Sundays.
Come on.
Yeah. I'm donating the money to, whether it's my project with Oliver that we go to build with you, or something that you're doing. So because we have a new baby coming in a week, I'm not certain if in this first little 6 months I'm going to want to travel like that. But if Oliver doesn't, and we don't go with you on the build, then the money I raise is going to go for your build.
So just so you know, we're not going till Q3 or Q4 of 2022.
Okay. Well, Q4, I probably could do it then.
So you have.
And Oliver was into it. Oliver likes you for some reason. I don't know. He's like, I don't know why, but
I mean, I don't know why either.
yeah. He's like, Travis, as Travis Van Winkle. I told him, he's in the other room. Like, I'm hopping in to have a chat with Travis. Tell us how Build On comes together. I've come to a bunch of your different fundraisers, and I know Justin's involved with you, and Emily, and different phases, and other, like Scotty Thompson and a bunch of other actors from Sandy's class along the way has told me that they've gone and done builds with you, and can you share what that is a little bit? So especially my listeners will be donating on Sundays through November for when I play music, that the tips will go 100% to this Build On for this project. And hopefully I'm on it with you.
I love it so much that you're even doing that. And that,
yeah, man.
Like that, I love talking about Build On. Build On is, so I'm a global ambassador for this organization. They've built 2,000 schools, over 2,000 schools in 30 years. They're incredibly reputable. They are highly ranked on Charity Navigator. So the money that you donate goes to the actual materials and supplies to build these schools. They're a twofold organization. So one, they have after school programs in the United States, in the Bronx, in Detroit, in Oakland, and a few other cities. And they inspire youth to be of service to their communities. And once this group of youth, they acquire a certain amount of community service hours, creating the vision that they want, whether that's painting murals, whether that's feeding the homeless, whether that's performing for elders, whatever it is. Once they acquire a certain amount of community service hours, Build On takes these kids to then go build a school in some of the poorest countries in the world that don't have access to education. And what happens is you end up, these school building trips are all about cultural exchange. It's all about empowerment. It's all about, you really get to understand each other. You share meals, you live under their roof, you get to walk their walk, and they get to understand who we are. And there's this beautiful exchange of culture that happens while you build the foundation of a school together. And it's a process. It's an experience that you can't help but feel. You just can't help but feel moved by. You just can't help but be in touch with humanity in doing these things. So the Build On is twofold. So one, it's this after school program that they have, and 96% of the students that go through the program go off to college, which is just an amazing statistic. And then they have a program where, like, you and me could go off and raise the money to go build a school, which is usually around $35,000. Most schools have an adult literacy program, because most of the adults didn't get the chance to go to school when they were kids, and so they don't know how to read or write. And so each school will have an adult literacy program that offers the adults a chance to then receive just a basic education. So that's usually around $35K, and anyone can do that. So you and a group of your closest friends can come together and throw a bunch of fundraisers, raise 35K, and then you can venture off to Malawi or Senegal or Burkina Faso or Haiti or Nepal, Nicaragua, or um, those are the host countries.
How many countries have you built? How many schools have you built?
I've built 7. I'm about to build my 8th in Senegal, and I was lucky enough to be able to facilitate some of these treks. So I went on my first trek in 2014 and fell in love with the program. And I called Build On and said, how do I do this? How do I lead treks? How do I make this a part of my life? And they let me learn about the program. I got to go co-lead a trek with one of my best friends in the world, Skylar, who happened to be my first trek leader that I hadn't known before this. And then I started to help lead some treks, and I learned more about the organization. And I've gotten to build 3 schools in Malawi. I've gotten to build a school in Senegal. I built a school in Nepal. I built a school in Haiti, and I built a school in Nicaragua. And I feel like this organization has my heart, and I tell everyone about it because it's an experience that has forever changed me and introduced me to just the most incredible people that I would never have had a chance to get to know and live with and share such intimate space with. And whenever it comes to education, we take it for granted. In America, you go to school because that's just what you do. But you go to some of these other countries in the redeveloping world, and education isn't something that's accessible. If it is, it's 5 kilometers away, and you don't start actually going to school until you can trek that far by yourself, which is usually like 10, 11 years old. So you don't start primary school until you're 11. And so you can just see the disparity in that and how it really can slow down the opportunity for prosperity. And so a lot of times the schools that are built in these particular communities are the first schools these communities have ever had. And these are primary schools that we build, equal enrollment for boys and girls. Usually they hire a woman foreman to oversee the project. A group of students or a group of people like us will come in. It's 10 days door to door. You'll come in, you'll live with the family, you'll stay with the community for about 7 days. You build the foundation of the school with them. You basically inspire each other and have this amazing experience, and then you go off and you go home, and they as a community finish building this school.
Oh, so you just start the foundation and you bring in the materials and the money, and okay, got it.
Yeah, and then and they're the ones that they're doing all the work, and it's for them, and you're just there to exchange culture, to exchange inspiration, to bring, offer the money that will provide the materials and the supplies, and it's an amazing organization. So right now I'm actually leading a campaign. It's a global campaign. We're building 7 schools in each of each of Build On's host countries. And so I've got 7 teams put together. We're going to raise just around a $250,000.
$250,000.
Yep. And we're going to go build 7 schools in 2022. And yeah, if you want to come with your son, with Ali, on this trek, please do. All the money that you want to raise, it can go into this campaign. It's I feel like COVID shut everybody down for a while and made everyone really focus on how to survive and how to maintain their health and how to keep their own homes and lives afloat. That our mission globally, it kind of took a pause for a second, and now that COVID is becoming a thing that we are more acquainted with and we understand and that we can be safe around, and we're learning to hopefully make it part of the past, it's time to re-engage our efforts in bringing education to the places that need it most.
Well, I'll put a link in the show notes here of how they can join that campaign for that. And then also perhaps before the end of the month, you can come on my IG and we'll just do a quick talk about Build On specifically. And then there's badges people can donate there, but then we'll also just share a link so that people can get involved and learn, and it'll help the people who come to my music understand a little bit more about it.
Look them up, buildon.org. They're,
okay, cool.
They're an incredible organization. You'll fall in love with them in a second.
And so how does your faith come into this? Like when did you find, are you Baha'i? Would you classify yourself as, or?
Yeah, I would classify myself as a Baha'i. I've always been a seeker.
Uh-huh.
I was raised Catholic.
What is Baha'i?
Baha'i it's the most recent world religion. 1864. Baha'u'llah is our main prophet. And what I love about this, I don't like to even look at it like it's a religion. I don't like to see I don't consider myself a religious person, which is kind of the irony of it all. But the Baha'i faith is all about equality of men and women. It's about unity of all walks of life. It's about putting service to humanity at the center of your life. And it's about uniting science and religion. And those are two wings of a bird. They have to fly together. It's basically, it's a way of life that's all about community. It's all about building the structure of the nucleus of a really beautiful home. That home then builds out into the community. That community then builds out into the world. So it starts with you. It starts with your family, and then it grows out. And I love that service is at the center of all of it. So I was introduced. My good buddy Justin, him and his family are Baha'i, and I've known Justin for almost 20 years now. And for the first 10 years, I didn't care. I knew that he was a Baha'i, but it was not something that I was ready to even ask or inquire about, because I was on my own journey. I studied Catholicism, I studied Christianity, I studied atheism, I studied Buddhism for a while. I was into the Hindu faith. I was agnostic. I've kind of bounced around and wanted to learn about all religions and all faiths and all spirituality. And when I was introduced to the Baha'i faith, it was something that just felt like it encapsulated all of it. And it felt like it was this home that all the beliefs that I have in my life, well, that was the center of this faith. And so it was something that just resonated so deeply with me. And that inspired me to really start taking big steps this was at a point in my life when I just needed to center myself. And so for a while, I stopped drinking alcohol. I stopped doing cannabis. I stopped for 4 years. I stopped doing anything that would alter my mind. And I wanted to get to know myself on such a deep level without anything, and just really being who I am. And that happened to be the time that coincided with my deep dive into the faith and service. And that's when also
service is at the heart of that. Kate wants to say hi to you. Come here. I wanted Kate to come in and for you to.
Hi, look at your little beautiful belly.
I know.
Yeah, look at this belly.
Oh my gosh. How are you so excited to pop?
I know.
Look how beautiful my babe is. Oh my goodness. We have a week to go.
Yeah. Week and a bit.
And we get to meet a week and we get to meet this little dude.
I'm so excited and so wild. I feel like I get to see you guys every so often. And that time that I came over to play volleyball with you, you gave me the news. And you would think, since we don't hang out all the time, we're not like, we see each other, I don't know, 5 or 6 times a year, which it should be more. But you told me the news and you surprised me, and I was moved to tears for you guys. I was unbelievably happy that 2 amazing, pure souls that you are, that are doing so much good things for the world, that just have this natural light, are going to bring a human into the world. Like, you are the kind of people that I think you are so well suited to bring a fresh, young human into the world. I'm so excited for you guys.
Katie's done this pregnancy with such grace and ease, like no sickness, no grumpy hormonal outbursts at me. It's just been like a dream. I'm just like, how lucky am I? I knew I was lucky before, but this pregnancy can bring up a lot of stuff for a lot of people. But for Kate, she's just been surfing this like a true Aussie, man. Like there's nothing to it. She's making it look so easy. I have to like keep up to her.
He's like, oh, my back's hurting.
we went to Coldplay. We went to Coldplay the other day, and and we were in traffic. Careful with your
You have
head.
to go to Coldplay?
We were in traffic at the Hollywood Bowl, and I think I'd been there once for Fish a long time ago. They played with Maroon 5 and a bunch of people and Black Eyed Peas, and but I had tried to surprise her as a date night, like a baby moon before the baby comes, and like little date nights, and I should have involved her in the parking part of it. Can you hear us okay when the mic's this far away?
Yeah.
And so I'm like, surprise. And we like packed wine, packed like, you know, not like she could drink wine, but she can have a sip of it, and cheese and all these little treats for the Hollywood Bowl. And we get over the 405 to where the 101 goes down, and we're just stopped in traffic.
Took us 2.5 hours to get to the Hollywood Bowl from our house.
Because everyone's trying to get in there. And then I'm like, oh my goodness. And I'm thinking she'd have to pee every 5 minutes because she's got this baby. Like, and this was only 3 weeks ago or a month ago.
Yeah, 3 weeks.
And I'm stressed because I don't want to miss Coldplay because they're like the third or fourth act, and we're not moving. We're just sitting on Barham or whatever that is, and she's just happy as a clam. And I'm like, my back, because I'm stressed because I'm not wanting. And I finally had to tell her, I'm like, we're going there where all those people are. And she's like, you should have told me. I would have figured out parking, because she's the logistics person. Anyway, I felt dumb complaining, but we ended up about my back when she's, you know, but we ended up making it no problem.
Yeah, it was all good. It was all fine. No need to stress.
And I'm a pretty chill cucumber, but she makes me feel.
Anyway, I'll let you guys get back to it, but he wanted me to drop in and say hi, and I love you, Travis. You're amazing. And we'll see you soon.
Bye.
Thanks, baby.
Oh,
yeah, I just wanted to show off this incredible woman and this incredible belly, and
all the time.
I'm so lucky, man. I'm so blessed to be in a relationship like this one, that, you know, she contributes at such a high level, and she you know, she helps. She really is. She's so straight for me too. She's not my biggest super fan, meaning she like, I got to work for the acknowledgments, which is actually good for my ego, meaning like she makes me, I've got to do good work for her to be like, that was awesome. She's not like, you're my, oh, Paul. She's not like bamboozled by my charm. She's like, I got to really be authentic, and I got to do good work, and I got to put the work in. And then she'll be like, you earned that. That was good.
I'm bamboozled by your charm.
Well, this is really cool, man. I really wanted just to dive in and understand, you know, how, and it seems to me like in the Baha'i faith, if service is at the front of it, then did that create the build on, or were you already doing build on?
It was a perfect storm. I think that was something that started to really center me and start thinking about how I can contribute to humanity. How can I help? Like, how can I leave this place better than I found it?
Yeah.
It started really introducing those thoughts into my mind, and so it was all part of this new movement, this new direction that was happening and birthing in my life and inside myself. But I think Build On came 3 years after I started to really investigate the faith.
Got it.
It's all part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know Justin gave me a couple books on it, something from Paris, like a conversation in Paris. And it's, I've heard really beautiful things about it. Like in terms of it's like love is at the heart of it, and acceptance, but also there's a mystical side to it too. That's like really, so let me ask you this. What are you most proud of, Travis, in your life?
What am I most proud of?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's, I don't know, Paul. What am I most proud of?
As long as you're not scratching your hair, I know you're not angry at me. If you started going up here, I'd be like, oh, I got him angry. I got him angry with that question.
I don't know. I mean, what am I most proud of? I don't know. I feel like I think that there's a lot of things that are going through my mind. I think I'm proud that I have a desire to contribute in some bigger way. like, I'm really proud that I'm genuinely inspired to want to get people engaged with Build On, like that I genuinely want to do good. Like I'm proud that that's something that's just a part of me. It's not an act. It's not something that I have to like work on. It's just in me. It's just who I am. And I think I'm really proud that that's something that's, it's just something that's so authentic to me.
You're most that you're inside, that you have this natural thing that just wants to give back and wants to do great things. And yeah, I could see that. I could see that being something in you. That I'm proud of you for that too, buddy.
Thanks, buddy.
Now, what scares you?
I'm like trying to think like, well, it's much easier to have a sense of humor here and say, you know, things that really don't scare me, but I feel like you probably want the truth.
Yeah, please.
I mean, what scares me? I think some patterns of mine scare me. Some patterns of mine when it comes to situations, whether, you know, it's just noticing that there are certain things that are somewhat habitual in my life that I go, oh, is that me? Is that the situation? Or is that just who I am? It's the process of understanding some of these patterns in my life that maybe aren't the most conducive to like living in my greatest potential. So I think some of the things that scare me are probably some ways that I could. Okay, it took me a second to get there. I think what scares me the most is not honoring that voice inside of me that knows exactly what he wants.
Yeah.
I would say that's probably the thing that scares me, is when I know that there's this voice and I don't honor it.
Right.
And why? Like, why am I not honoring? That's I think what, you know, and if I continue to do that and not honor it, well, what's going on?
If it seems like you've learned from your, you know, those lessons in the past, and you're able to, you know, as you're 39, right? 39. And that stuff that happened to you when you were younger, I mean, we all look back and be like, I should have said, like, somebody wanted to do something the other day. We were in a lineup and he was going to put the temperature gun like at our forehead, and I like them to do it at my wrist just because I don't like the feeling of a gun to my head. But we were getting our CPR, Kate and I were getting our CPR certification, and the paramedic, and we did the online, then we actually had to go do the practical stuff with the dummies, so we know infant CPR and also for adults. But there's these moments.
Now you can't call them dummies anymore.
Oh, you can't?
I'm kidding.
Oh my gosh. please no. The Smarties that we were doing the compressions on. But he put the gun to Kate's head first. And some of you might be like, Paul, you're being ridiculous. But I just, on set, they would always try to put it here. And I know there's a very important gland here called the pituitary gland. The pineal glands are there. And maybe it does nothing, but there's a bit of a thing I have with having a gun to my head. So Kate, I don't know why I'm telling this because it's a bit ridiculous, but Kate wanted him to do it here. And he said, I've been a paramedic for 27 years. And he just puts it right at her head. And then instead of me sort of being like, look, man, like, I know, you know, we're on set for hundreds of days and they were able to get a reading of temperature here too. Why can't you I just kind of stepped in and let him do it here. And then afterwards, I felt like not only did I not stand up for what I believed in for my woman, but then after, even for myself, and it bugged me. I'm like, wait a minute. At the very least, I could have had a reasonable conversation. He might have a protocol he's following, but at least to be like, hey, and this is not a big example. No, this is not the best example.
This is a small example. And if these moments add up over time, there's a pattern. And so I think that this is an amazing example of exactly that.
Right. But it's just those little things that bug me for days. And Kay's like, don't worry about it. It's like, probably it's not a big deal, but like, she's pregnant. I just want to stand up for my woman and like myself even. I'm like, what? I did a whole 3 seasons or like 2 seasons during COVID. And I was like, every time I'm like, here, please. Like not on my foot. And they would always pull the gun up to my head and I'd be like, to my hands. But man, it's been great talking to you. I could talk to you for hours. I know you have an 11 o'clock here right away. And I'm just really glad that you came on to my podcast, and I love introducing people to other folks that you think differently, man. And the grass is greener where you water it. See, I think of you like you nurture the things you love, and you take care of, the grass isn't greener on the other side. Like it's not, you're really somebody I find that takes care of your body, but also your craft and the people you love, and your community is the world, and you're watering these, you're building these schools, and I really wanted people to get to know you in that way.
Well, I love that. I appreciate that. And I think it's, I've always been able to connect with you because I see a lot of, I'm always inspired by how you live your life, how accountable you are for yourself, how you show up for your family, for your world. And I think just you overall, how in touch with yourself you are. It's always been inspiring to me. So I think I'm just happy that I get to know you, and that I get to hang out with you, and that we get to be somehow intertwined in this crazy life.
Me too, man. So where can people find you, and what don't you have a Hallmark movie coming out shortly?
I do, December 19th. It's called The Season to Be Merry. It's with Rachel Lee Cook.
Fun.
So that should be fun. You can find me on Instagram at Travis Van Winkle. On Twitter, I'm TV Dub. On TikTok, I'm trying to get my name back. Someone took my name, so I'm still trying to find out what I am on TikTok. But
and the third season of You is happening right now on Netflix.
Yeah, check that. Wild ride.
It is a wild ride. I know it's an intense show. Obviously, the Build On project, where they can donate, they can learn more about it, they can start their own build. So you also did a Hallmark movie last year, and what was that called? Who was your co-star?
That was Project Christmas Wish, and Amanda Schull.
I don't know her. My fans are fans. The people watching.
You should know her. She is insanely talented. I loved working with her.
Really?
Yeah.
How many Hallmark movies have you done to this point? Quite a few, right?
I've done 3.
3, and then Lifetime too.
I think years ago, I'd done some that I don't think they were on Hallmark, but they were maybe they were placed onto Hallmark after I'd done them. So like I don't know.
Independence or something.
Yeah, so maybe like 5 or something like that.
Well, these a lot of the people watching love Hallmark that'll be watching this, and they'll be very happy to have gotten to know you.
The 3 that I did one with Bridget Regan, and that was one I did 2017, and that was called. Oh, I already forgot the name of that one, but that was with Bridget Regan. She's amazing, and then Amanda Schull, and then Rachel Lee Cook. So I've had 3 incredible actresses to work with, and if you haven't seen their work, please go see it.
Yeah, and it's so cool that we get to do these. People love these Hallmark movies, especially at Christmas. It comes into lots of homes. And so is there any other projects that are coming out for you that you want people to pay attention to in the next little bit?
I think the one thing I want people to do is go watch You immediately. I think that's a really great series. I had an incredible time filming that. It's a great role, and it's a wild ride. That's what I want to promote at the moment. Go see that.
Okay, got it. I'm sure it's intense, man. It's like a little bit. What would you compare it to? It's a little bit like, what's that?
It's kind of like Dexter, where you're rooting for this guy that's doing terrible things, but you somehow love him and root for him. And what's interesting about this show is you hear the inner monologue of the main character, and so you get to know his thoughts and what he's thinking, what he's feeling, and you can't help but empathize with him in some way. And it's it's incredibly satirical as well, and so it pokes fun at all of us, and so you can't help but see yourself in it.
Yeah,
so it's wildly funny and twisted, and so get ready for it. If you haven't seen the show, maybe read the cliff notes for season 1 and 2, and then just jump straight into season 3.
Yeah. Right when you come in, your first, I think one of the first things you say is like, I do intermittent fasting. I'm like,
oh yeah,
I'm proud of you, man. And we'll catch you live and in person. Hopefully we can go do the build together with Ollie in Q4.
Yeah, we'll talk more. We'll talk more about that. And I think definitely let's do an Insta Live.
This month.
Yeah,
because I want to bring some more awareness to this charity that you're doing. And I love you, brother.
Love you, brother. So happy to be here today.
Yeah. Thanks for coming.
Yes, sir.
See, bye. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. That's Travis Van Winkle, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for being here. And if you stayed all the way to the end, you're an extremely special person. I just want to thank some of my sponsors. Of course, I work with Ion, which is Zach Bush, and it's a powerful, powerful product that will help you heal the gut lining. And it's a mineral called Terrahydrate that just heals up the juncture in your stomach and has helped people, many people, with their allergies and sleep and their blood sugar, and helping them to be able to have less food sensitivity. And it's a really incredible product. So please check that out. There'll be a link in the bio. I also work with Thrive Market, where you can get groceries sent to your house and a discounted price rather than going to the market. And they're zero waste. So there's a lot of really powerful things I love about Thrive Market. And so working with some of these sponsors, how it works is if you use my code, then there's a small amount that gets kicked back. So just have a look at some of my sponsors in the description. I'll put them all there. Bite Smile Liner, if you have crooked teeth and you're not sure you want to get braces or Invisalign, check out Bite and look at some of the reviews. I've had good results with my aligners. And I just want to thank you for your support. I have a couple other things going on. I have a newsletter. I'd love you to join that. A text service. There's a Patreon community if you want to support the show, and my podcast, which is on iTunes, The Grass is Greener, where this audio can be found, as well as 20 other episodes. And you matter. I'm grateful that you're here and that you found me. I hope this conversation it showed you something in yourself that you can create from, and inspired you in some way that allows your world to be a little bit bigger, a little bit kinder, and more authentically you, which is one of the things I'm committed to, is helping people remember who they are and to live a life that they totally love. All right, God bless you, and thanks again for being here. We'll see you real soon. Almost forgot to tell you about the cruise. A year from now, we're hitting the seas, Andrew Walker and myself. So you can go to my website, paulgreene.com, to check that out, as well. Freedom Alchemist, which is the insane online transformational program and platform that Kate and I do, called Freedom Alchemy. And you there will get you the tools to completely create this life that you love, and no longer have the past determine your future, which is one of the things we're all so committed to. So check that out. I couldn't let it go without sharing that with you. So check it out, paulgreene.com. Okay.